folks, welcome back. Let's take a look at this next parabola and see graphically where is this thing greater than or equal to 0, and then write our answer up in interval notation. So what I want to do is I want to graph my quadratic expression. So I want to figure out what is the graph for x squared minus 8x plus 12. And since I have an x squared, right, it's going to be a parabola. And since that lead coefficient is 1, I know I'm going to have an upward facing parabola. So at least I have an idea of what that graph is going to look like. But let's go find some important ordered pairs. I think great ordered pairs to look for to help me with my graph, to be a little bit more specific in my graph. I'm going to look for x-intercepts, y-intercepts, maybe a vertex. So let me start with an x-intercept. So if I want to find an x-intercept, that's when I'm going to let my function be 0, right? I'm going to set my y values to 0. So algebraically, I want to see when is x squared minus 8x plus 12 equal to 0. Now you could factor this, you could complete the square, you could use the quadratic formula. I'm going to go ahead and just factor only because it's faster. And if you're not a big fan of factoring, no problem, then just go ahead and use a quadratic formula. But I can see this is, oops, let me erase that. That should have said x minus 6 and x minus 2, right? Yeah. All right, and when I combo that with the zero product property, either x minus 6 is 0 or x minus 2 is 0. So either x is 6 or 2. So what that means for my x-intercepts, I'm going to have one at 2, 0 and another one at 6, 0. And I'll put a pin in that for now, and I'll use that to help me when I graph in just a moment. I never think it's a bad idea to get the y-intercept. That's also a helpful point. If you ever want the y-intercept, this time let x equal 0. All right, so here, if I want the x-intercept, let y equal 0, y-intercept, let x equal 0. You always let the opposite letter 0 out. But if x is 0, and I'm plugging that into my parabola, or my quadratic expression, that's 0 squared minus 8 times 0 plus 12, 0, 0, 12. So there we go. My y-intercept is 0, 12. Okay. And then another point that I tend to get with parabolas is the vertex. It never hurts, or I don't think it hurts, to get the vertex. And the formula to help me get the vertex is always negative b over 2a, at least for the x-coordinate. And then when I find that x-coordinate, I'm going to plug it back into my quadratic expression, get the y-coordinate. But for this particular problem, that will be negative of negative 8 over 2 times 1. Because my b value is negative 8, right? That was the linear coefficient, and my quadratic coefficient was 1. That's my a value. Negative of negative 8 is positive 8 over 2 is 4. And then if I want to get the y value, or the corresponding y value, let's go get f of 4, which is 4 squared minus 8 times 4 plus 12. All right, so we have 16 here plus 12, which is 28. 28 minus 32 is negative 4. So my vertex that I'm looking at is 4, negative 4. Right, so I have 4 pretty decent points. That one's a little high up there, I'll tell you, 0, 12. But I have 4 decent points to help me make my graph. So let me go draw out my xy axes. Okay. And let's go ahead, sketch this. Give me a moment. I'm going to sketch this one. All right, we got y, x. Now, like I said, I saw a 0, 12, right? So I'm going to make this y-axis high enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. And then I see 2, 0, 1, 2, and 6, 0, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I've got a vertex at 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So here. And because I know the general shape of this quadratic is an upward facing parabola, I can pretty much head in here. Whoa, I missed that point. I did a terrible job going through that y-intercept. It's almost embarrassing. Let me clean it up just a bit. Oh well, what are you gonna do? I was gonna make the dot bigger, because I usually just make the dot bigger, but that was really far off. I'll tell you, I'm recording this on a Thursday. I would have thought I would have put a little bit more on it this far end of the week. Okay, let's see if we can't do that. That's better. Okay, I kind of missed it. I'll just make the point really big. Okay, and let's say you weren't loving doing this by hand, right? You could always go to your graphing calculator and we could type in x squared minus 8x, oops, there it is, plus 12. Let's hit zoom 6 and we could see enough of our graph pop out. And if I wanted to calculate a 0, right, we have the second trace. I can do the 0 option, right? And when I do that, I just have to, if I look at this first 0, I mean, we actually know it's at 2, but let's say you didn't factor it and you wanted to know, I would count 1, 2, that looks pretty good. If I want to get on the left side of it, well, x equals 0 is on the left side, but let me move Blinky into view, right? So if I want to go after this first 0, get on the left side of it, right? And we're always moving left to right. So this is on the left side, hit enter. Move Blinky to the right side of that 0, right? Have it cross the x-axis, hit enter, and then hit enter through guess, and then there is your 0. And if I wanted to get the second 0, I need to do the same thing. I like to move Blinky closer. So what I mean by that is if here's my second 0, Blinky is now on the left side of it, and then I'm gonna move it to the right side. So I'm gonna hit enter, blink, 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 enter, enter, and there we go. All right, but at the end of the day, right, ultimately I wanna see where is this thing greater than or equal to 0. So I wanna see where is this graph above the x-axis, right? And where is it on the x-axis? All right, and then I want to write those x coordinates or those x intervals up. So when I think about where is this graph above, it's here, right? And here. And where is it on? I want to include this point and this point. So I've got those highlighted, and if I remember, this was what, 2? And this was 6. Were those my numbers? Yes. So if I want to move from left to right, and I want to write this up, let me give myself a little space here. I'm going to say x has to be anything from, I'm going all the way left, right? All the way left, so negative infinity to 2, and I'm going to put the bracket around it because I do want to include it, right? I'm looking for where my graph was greater than or equal to 0, so above or on the x-axis. And then my second interval starts at 6, which I want to include, and then I want to go up to positive infinity. All right, thanks so much, everyone. Bye.